The Chaber cited a Yesh Mishomer that says that Gonov and Gozel are only not valid for the Ganav himself on the other days, but for a third party it's valid, except for the first day. For the first day it's not valid for anyone. Why? Because it's stolen. It doesn't belong to what? To the person who's been Yotzei. Torah says, L'kachtem lochem b'yom harishon. But the subsequent days, a third party can be Yotzei, although it's still stolen. We're talking about, it's before Yush. It's after Yush, there's nothing to talk about. It's before Yush. So we explained, because Mitzvah Baver, we said, is only rabbinical, and therefore they only penalize the thief, but they don't penalize the third party who's actually using the stolen item. The first day where it's halachin lochem, factually you don't own it. So therefore no one could be Yotzei. But the subsequent days, which only Midrabanan, which you could be Yotzei with a shoal, with a borrowed lulav, so then the halach is, it's only the thief himself, which we say it has no value because Mitzvah Baver. For the third party it is. Again, no. Of course. Look, Torah says first you have to. Let's forget about the stolen. You want to borrow a lulav on the second day? Do you have to own it to be Yotzei? The answer is no. Why? Because the second day is not a Torah law; it's a rabbinic law. So since it's only drabanan, therefore they say that aspect of characteristic doesn't have to apply to subsequent days. What do we take the lulav beyond the first day? Zech LaMikdash, the Mishnah says. To commemorate, because the base of Mikdash, they took the lulav on the Torah level 7 days. Today we don't have the base of Mikdash. It's to commemorate what they did in the base of Mikdash, we take it the additional 6 days. So for commemoration, it's enough that just do the action. You don't have to own it. The first day you have to own it. So if it's stolen and it's before Yush, so when the third party takes it, he still doesn't own it. So no one could be Yotzei the first day. The second day, what are we dealing with? Mitzvah Ba'avera. So who do we penalize? We penalize the thief, but not the other person who didn't steal it. So the thief cannot be Yotzei, the third party can be Yotzei. That's the understanding of the Yesh Omrim, of the second opinion in Mechaber. Let's see the Mishna Berura Succos. Chutz mi Yom Rishon, except for the first day we make no differentiation. Hine mad de machnin l'gabi acherim, that we're machmir for others, hainu akochach ayru lefnei Yush. Evidently, we must say it's speaking before Yush. V'lochem omer achmana v'aylav ditu. The Torah says it has to be yours, and factually the first day it's not his. Because if factually before the third party took it, and the owner already had despaired, it would be considered first despair and change of domain. It would be considered the object of the second party. So why would you not be Yotzei? The Mechaber says that the first day you're not Yotzei. The concept mitzvah baver has no relevance to others, only the one who actually stole it. Mogram cites the Milchamos is the Ramban. This is the Ramban's commentary on the Rif. It's called Milchamos Hashem. He argues that even for others who didn't do the actors, but factually you actually want to be Yotzei with a stolen object, can't be Yotzei. So it's not a question of a penalty. It's not we're penalizing you for stealing. Factually, it's a stolen object. You cannot be Yotzei with something that you have no permission to use. Even the other days. First day it's understood, right? Even the other days. Factually, they're retaining a stolen item. Even though the third party didn't steal it, but the third party is retaining a stolen item because the owner still, he wants his item back. He didn't despair. Therefore, the third party is also not Yotzei, according to the Ramban. Therefore, Mogram says, since the Ramban argues that which is not the Yesh Omrim, therefore you should not rely on this leniency. That for others on the subsequent day, you can be Yotzei. You should not be Yotzei with it. The Li Rabba, which is a contemporary of the Mogram, says, no, you can't be relying on this more lenient opinion. For others who didn't do the act of stealing, of that theft, although it's before Yush, they could be Yotzei. Others hold that Mitzvah ba'aveira is only when dealing where it's a Torah obligation. Dealing with rabbinic obligation, even mitzvah ba'aveira, even he could be yotzei. Al koponi yishlismu chalayil gabi achrini gam agrobi biuro. This is the Gra in his commentary. Mashma shemitzad la'aloch yesh mishomer. Seems to be he favors the more lenient opinion that the one who did not do this stealing, although it's before Yush, the third party can be yotzei. Miu kozeh hurak linyan lotzis avol levorech. Yesterday, somebody asked about the bracha. What about this lenient opinion says a third party which is not mitzvah ba'aveira? What could you say? Can you say a bracha? So they say avol levorechov gam la'agro os levorechov. Should not, because factually it's tainted. To say it has no value for the third party, we're not penalizing you. But factually, how could you say a bracha on something that's stolen? It's a stolen item. Even we said earlier that even if the shinu rishus, since factually the origin of the item is theft, therefore you should not say because it's tainted.
How does the third party ever find out that the stolen item?
He's aware of it. He's aware.
If somebody says, "By the way, I stole this," I'm sorry.
Yeah, not selling. He knows.
If he doesn't know, then there's nothing to talk about.
No, of course.
Post it on Facebook.
If he doesn't know,
We said earlier it's not because it's the sound. It's not the object. Here it's the object you're being yotzei with. The cases, I mean, cloth, people, certain shuls they read that Torah from a cloth, from a parchment. It's very expensive. Just one navi could be $10,000, $15,000. That's how expensive it is. They're very close. Sifrei Torah, they write them continuously. But first of all, the market is not such a high market, so it's like it's a specialty item. That's what it is. It's a specialty item. So therefore, that especially you have put on the lock and key in a safe. And sometimes they're stolen, and they sell it. And the shuls who know, they buy it. Whatever, I'm not saying the people buy it. No, very often they don't know, but still, they're suspect to a degree. But if we don't know, they somehow. They don't want to ask too many questions. So the question is, people every Shabbos they say a bracha on it. I mean, it's a bracha levatollah. It's a bracha levatollah. That's what it is.
What do you do if you buy that from a guy? A guy comes to sell, and it's stolen property, but you don't know where it came from. So you should
definitely should buy it. You should buy it, but not to use. Exactly. Many years ago, there was a question about svarim. Public libraries have svarim, and whatever it is, it's not appropriate. Certain svarim should be in a public library, available for public use. Take the book, and then you claim you lost it, and then you pay for the book. But factually, you're stealing. The library, if they would know that you have it, you're retaining it, they're not going to allow you. You want to buy the book, buy it elsewhere. Don't take it, then you'll tell me you lost it, then you'll pay the library for the stolen book, for the lost book, right? Is it stealing or not stealing? It wasn't so simple that you're allowed to do such a thing. Say, well, it's to, for that, because it's inappropriate, they should retain this kind of safer. But with the guy is agreeable to sell it. And you're not buying it for yourself. You're buying it only to protect it. Otherwise, it's going to be disgraced, abused.
But this whole section here, in the first place, the secondary days, it's Rabbanan. And the question they're dealing with is, how did the original Chazal, who enacted this, rule with respect to stolen lulav?
Exactly. That's the whole discussion here.
It's not so much a logical question, because you can argue either way.
Correct.
You can see.
Correct.
But the question is, what did they
The three levels. Are yotzei, maybe you're not yotzei at all. And even if you are yotzei, you're not permitted to say a bracha. Or maybe if you are yotzei, for the third party, you're even permitted to say a bracha. That's the three levels we're dealing with. And they're all logical. Every one of them is right, exactly. It's a question, what did they originally say? And then there's another level, is it a doraisa drabanan? So if it would be a mitzvah doraisa, so then it's a doraisa concept. Because the concept, since it's only rabbinical, we're more lenient on a rabbinical level. So it's all the variables which make a difference what the halach is.
So do you say that when the Ramban rules in a certain way, that he had a tradition?
Well, it's not, no, he brings proofs from Gemaras. It's the way you interpret Shas. It was his understanding. Whenever you have a machlokas rishonim, whenever you have a machlokas amoroim, that's tradition. and each one's coming to prove his tradition. When you have a argument among the Rishonim, right? It's the way they understand, the way they learn Shas, to prove their position. That's what it's about. They bring proof from this Gemara, that Gemara, and they, as a result of that, my position is more correct than your position. So the Ramban, if you go through, he says, from here it seems to be this way. The Gro or the other Rishonim say differently. It's not the way you say it is. Okay? No, that's not in Shabbos. That's more about Vakama, Ksubis. That's where you violate Shabbos.
No, you violate.
That's a question. That's penalized. That's not to be nenemim leches Shabbos. Different idea. That's over there. It's even b'shogeg. Even b'shogeg.
Well, it's very opinions.
And over there, it's not a mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah over there. It's not to be yotzei. Here, mitzvah is a whole different level. This is based on the pasuk, al tovi gezel ba'ola. Right? Which means pursue ola. So ola is a mitzvah. Over there, are you permitted to eat it? We're not talking with it's a sudas mitzvah. Okay. I'll tell you very often, they have these people. Today you don't see it in much, but years ago, you have these gypsies. I remember many years ago they were going around with trucks selling these small pine trees, and they would charge you $3 a pine tree, and if you supply the shovel, they'll even plant it for you on your property. It's a known. Gypsies are b'cheskes ganovim, no question. Where did they get the pine trees from? They stole them. So are you permitted, sir? I told the game, we're not interested. People before today, you don't find, because today we have bamboo and you have mats and this. One time people used these pine branches for the schach, right? And they would come with a truck filled with pine, and they would sell pine. Where do you think they got it from? They go into a public property, right? Into a public, and they cut as much as they want. I mean, they ask permission from the government, right? But there's no question there. It would probably be a yish and shina rishus. Once it's cut, what the government's going after them. At worst, they'll arrest them, they'll fine them, they'll penalize them, whatever it is. But the government's not interested in pursuing it. So that's yish and shina rishus. So the question is, could you sit in such a sukkah? You don't sit in the sukkah. A sukkah without schach is not valid. The schach is an integral part of the sukkah. Are you yotze? You're not yotze. You would be yotze. Now you have a new question. Could you say a bracha? There's a question we had before. Even if you have yish and shina rishus, do you say a bracha on such a thing? Okay, it's not simple. Shli katzitz. So the Ramos says, if you buy any of the dalimim from a non-Jew, you should have the non-Jew cut it and you take it from him. So here there's not a question. You can definitely say a bracha, because here it's a question he's suspect. The probability is it's not stolen, but there's a chance he did steal, the non-Jew. The original owner of the property may have been a Jew, like it's what Avrami asked yesterday. You buy a house. How do you buy a house from a non-Jew? Maybe somehow in the background, one of the owners, going back whenever it was, it may belong to a Jew. Some of what, you're not permitted to buy the house? Of course you are. Because the majority of properties are not stolen. So therefore you're permitted. You don't have to come up to Dina Malchus Dina. But we're speaking, if you have a choice, you have a choice. It's better that non-Jew should cut it than you should cut it yourself. Because the non-Jew's cutting it, you're covering every concern. Correct? Because the moment he cuts it, the yush takes effect. And when you take possession, it's the shini rishus. So if it's 100% not a question. You cut it, you have to rely on rove. The probability is that it was always a non-Jews.
Where does the Oraisa come from?
Understand? It doesn't make a difference. But if you do it,
You would think that would alleviate any need for concern over bracha, which is a good
not a bracha. It's not a bracha. It's a gemara. What the Ramos is saying is a gemara. It's a gemara in sukkah. That when you buy hadas, when you buy aravos, and you buy from non-Jew, you should have the non-Jew cut the aravos rather than yourself. Because if in fact it is stolen, you're creating a shini rishus situation. Otherwise, you're the thief.
It was common, and that there's a significant minority that exists.
But he's saying bein boritz bein chutzlaret. The Ramos says both in Eretz and Chutz. Eretz, he say maybe yes. They stole it from us, right? Let's say today in the old city, Pre-848, most of the old city was occupied by Jews. They were driven out. Jordanians came in. They threw them out. Everything was stolen. So now you go and you have in whatever it's called, Silwan, one of these Yamach Shimon, they have a rava bush. He wants to sell you a rava. Are you permitted to buy it? He cuts it, gives it to you. It's not a problem. It's the Yushin Shina Rishus.
And if a Jew were to sell to another Jew, how does that work?
Same idea.
Can it work? Can you buy from another Jew?
It would be the same thing. There would be a question of probably, and you know it's stolen?
Well, no, like you're saying, you take the precaution.
No, with the Jew, there's a chazaka.
There's a chazaka.
There's a presumption. Here we're saying because non-Jews do steal, and they are thieves. If they can, there's a chance it may be stolen. But if there's not even a consideration it was ever stolen, so then there's nothing to it.
Suppose a Jew has a rubber business and he's lost his cheskas kashrus.
If he lost his cheskas kashrus, today, let's say, the question is, it's questionable where he got their rubbers from. It's serious business. That's Yishishina Rishus.
Can you buy from him?
No, you shouldn't buy from him. You should not buy from him.
How's it different from buying from abroad?
Because he was saying the land may have been stolen. May have been stolen.
No, it's a question.
It's a question. Probably it was not. But if you're able to play it safe, play it safe. Have him cut it rather than you cut it. But if a man, he doesn't have fields, where did he get it from? And this man has no scruples. A Jew. Or it could even be a goy. Like he's selling a rovers. Where did he get it from? Probably stole it. You know, years ago, they used to do schach, shuls, most shuls had sukkahs, which were up all year in the backyard. You know, back of the tenements, they had, or back of the shuls, they had a sukkah. And every year they would add schach, and they would have a roof that would close, what they called the shlak. And they used to use pussy willows. Remember they were pussy willows? Years ago when you drive along Jersey, alongside the turnpike, they used to grow alongside. Swamps. It was like grew on swamps. So there you have these people. They used to go out there and used to cut as much as they wanted. Probably there wasn't a problem. The government definitely didn't care. Whoever owned it, or the government, they didn't care. You're cutting swampland. What? No, they couldn't care. Because every once in a while there was a fire there, anything, it all burnt. Right? So it wasn't a question.
But how do the Jews who bought houses in Silwan, how do they do that? Is that question? Those houses are owned by Jews.
You have to say it's a dina malchus dina. Dina malchus dina. Because the government allowed them, said, the Arabs, for whatever happened, and when we reconquered the East Jerusalem, the Arabs are there, we allowed them to stay there. If we allowed them to stay there, we said it's okay for you to have it.
Still, the homes were probably owned by Jews.
They were. So it's still dina malchus dina means that's hefker bezin hefker. The government dictates.
It would be okay if they-
Right, correct.
That was
Right. Shlo yikatzitz. We're saying that the Jew should not cut, you should have the non-Jew do the cutting of any of the daled binim. Bira initially katzim kark shel nochri ba'atzmo afilu kshitin lo nochri shus. Even if the non-Jew gives you permission, just cut as much as you want. The people, one of the activities on Chol Hamoed, Sukkot is usually apple picking. What do people do with the kids? They go apple picking. Go to a non-Jew's orchard, you pick apples. Okay, so you tell, but the enjoyment is you pick your own apples. You don't have the non-Jew pick the apples and he gives you a bushel or a bag of apples. Fresh. Depends. Okay? Right off the tree, exactly. Correct. No, but you may have stolen it. If the apple orchard originally was a Jew's apple orchard, you're stealing the apples off the tree. That's the point I make. What?
But the judgment, the title passed.
Right, I'm saying according to title. Yeah, but if you could, let's say it's pre-title. The title only goes back so far. Beyond that point, doesn't. You know, it's interesting. When the United States originally, they gave thousands of acres of land for the settlers, and then afterwards, people came in. Either they sold it off, or they may have killed the owner. They killed the owner, and they took and they divided it up. And Jews owned, especially in down south, Georgia, the Jews owned plantations down there. And there's tremendous anti-Semitism. What the Jews sold off the plantations, they probably stole it from the Jews. Right? And I'm just saying, factually, there's certain parts of the United States, Jews, Savannah, Atlanta, many Jews. Just the opposite. It's written up in American history that the Jewish plantation owners were kind to their slaves. The slaves didn't want to be emancipated from the Jews because the Jews treated their slaves different than the Goyim. No, but if you're the thief, even if he gives to you back, it makes no difference. You still have an obligation to return it. Right? It's not, you're not accomplishing anything. The Jew cut it. The Jew cuts it for himself. Now, what happens now? And what does he accomplish by selling it? So the guy is like a third Jew. And what? Now he's going to sell it back to you. But again, you have since you're the thief, you still have an obligation to return it. Your obligation hasn't changed. Okay? Okay. Let's see. A fixed property cannot be stolen. The property is always in the domain of the original owner. So the fruits or whatever you're cutting from the property is the property. When you detach the fruit, Havi gozel, v'atolshu gozlos. Who's the thief? The one who cuts it. The Jew should not cut it himself. The non-Jew should do the cutting. The moment it's detached, the spare takes effect. So now he transfers it. He gives it over to the Jew. So now you have the spare, took place the moment the non-Jew cuts it, and when he gives it to the Jew has no obligation to return it, because it's already in the state of despair. Goes leg, chozel lechatchila. This is what I mentioned yesterday. If you have this solution, why take a chance if you don't have to take a chance? He says, this is lechatchila. B'diavad kosher, imu b'rshus ha'akum, vorech holayu. We have a rove, it's a suffix, but the probability is it's not stolen. There's a chance it may be. So if you could ask the non-Jew to cut it, you're better off. So this is the same thing with a house. You buy a house from a non-Jew. Do I have to worry? Maybe somehow. Kanya. Right? What about land acquisition? There was a war and they took over. It's not so, you have the claims. Conference of claims, people reclaiming property in Germany and Poland, going back, right? It's also Nazis. It does make a difference, but why is that different than a conquest? It's like a conquest. You conquer. There is such a thing as conquering. What the native Indians, they say to the United States, we own the whole country. I mean, they took it. I mean, with a level of no conscience, they just drove them out. They murdered them. I mean, that's what they did. They drove the Indians out. Took advantage. They were stronger, and they drove them out. That's every war. Who? What's settling? They battled everything. They came in and said, yeah, why is there no battle? Because they'll be killed otherwise. That's why there's no battle. Right? That's conquering. We're the conquerors. We're taking over.
That's what happened in the Ukraine. They just walked in. There was no battle. They just walked into what's the Kremlin. And they took it over. So it's conquest.
Conquest is a kingdom. The difference is whether it's an individual or it's a what? It's a country. Right? One conquers the other. That's it. Conquest is an acquisition.
They're saying that the same company really shouldn't be expected to get anyone back. They lost the conquest.
It's not simple. It's not simple. Could be because you understand. What about the world court decides? We speak about Dina Malchus Dina. So good. The Nazis, whatever they believed, is irrelevant because the world court is the Dina Malchus Dina. So they are the victors. The world are the victors. The Nazis, they lost. So they ruled that property should be returned. Okay, so it's irrelevant. So they're invalidating the acquisition of the original conquerors. Even though they didn't reconquer, they do it actually. The victors weren't interested in reconquering that land, but they're dictating. Being the victors, they have a right to dictate. And they dictate all properties must be returned to the original owners. That's Dina Malchus Dina. It makes no difference if it's a Jew or non-Jew. Okay, to be continued.